President Obama's administration is facing heat over its continued failure to extradite NSA leaker Edward Snowden. Is the criticism fair? Well, to answer that, I'm joined by CBS News senior correspondent John Miller. John, thank you for sitting down with us.
Good to be here.
So, John, the administration is taking some heat, taking some criticism.
Basically, the United States, the most powerful government on Earth, was turned into a sad ex-boyfriend.
If we're not able to convince our allies or other countries to actually help us with this, that doesn't speak very well to how we're being viewed in the world.
From your reporting, from your experience, is that criticism warranted?
Well, it certainly makes the administration look weak, maybe incompetent, but there's what something looks like and then there's reality, which is, look at the options. I mean, here was Edward Snowden, NSA leaker in Hong Kong. We knew where he was. Most of the time we had a pretty good idea of his geographic location, not at all times. So the options were we could have dropped a team of Navy SEALs in there to go in and capture him, roll him up in a body bag and throw him on a helicopter and race out of Hong Kong. We could have shot a Hellfire missile through his hotel room balcony with a Predator drone. But at some point you have to get back to real life.
Well, is it a huge mistake that the U.S. government didn't do a better job tracking Snowden in Hong Kong or when he left Hong Kong?
I don't think it makes any difference. Let's say that the U.S. either knew every step of his way in Hong Kong, right down to the longitude and latitude, or let's say they didn't. What difference does it make? Unless you're going to actually take some action there, which against a host country that we have a dialogue with would be nearly unprecedented. We did that one time in recent memory in Pakistan after much internal debate to capture Osama bin Laden. So would we be prepared to do that in this case at this stage? And the answer to that is probably not. But I think people are assigning a lot of options to the administration and to the U.S. government in general. Whether that administration was Republican or Democratic doesn't really make any difference. The conversation you could be having is, should they have put more pressure on Hong Kong? Should they have threatened China? But that could have had the opposite effect also, which is if they were going to turn him over and then they didn't, people would say, well, you caused them to lose face, and that's what set the deal back. So, you know, these are games of negotiation, diplomacy, and sometimes brinksmanship, but there may not be any right answer when you're not in control. And the fact is, whatever soil he's on, the host nation is in control.
But when you look at President Obama, you compare him to past presidents, past incidents like this, does this make him look like he lacks credibility on the world stage?
Name me the president who had some U.S. defector end up in some foreign country that stomped his feet, jumped up and down and yelled real loud and got him back. Nobody can.
Right. Right.
Again, these things are done through negotiations, and frankly, the most successful ones are usually done through trades.
What does President Obama do now? What can we expect from him?
Well, the first thing he does now is he does what he did in Hong Kong / China with the Russians. So they are on the phone at the highest levels of the Russian administration now, between people here at the NSC and the State Department and whoever else, you know, has a dialogue there, is saying, look, this is really important to us. And, you know, it's not even about the secrets anymore. We have to set an example that you can't just do this, and, you know, we need to get this guy back. So those conversations are already happening. If you're on the Russian end of that telephone, you have to open that top drawer that every president and every foreign minister has and look in there and say, where's the list of stuff we've been asking the United States for? And which is the right size and weight to say, maybe we can help you, but what about this? We want this guy, we want this favor, we want this change. And that part we might not hear about if that deal is ever made. On the other hand, the Russian government may look up and say, you know what? We're sandwiched between this stuff. We've already, you know, talked to this guy. We've exploited what we can exploit or we can't. But we have the hot potato now. Let's just get him on a plane to somewhere else. That also could happen. And that will make everybody on this side very angry again, and then you get to the so what part. How many times have we been angry at Russia, or Russia's been angry at us, and what really happens? We work through it.
And in the scenario that he gets on a plane to Ecuador, gets out of Russia, are we in a better place, or a worse place?
We have a lot more potential sway over the government of Ecuador in terms of deals in South America, funding, jobs, and pressure that can be applied there. For instance, they use the US dollar in Ecuador. So there is a lot more that the US could bring to bear in terms of pressure that would make Ecuador have to ask themselves the question, is this all worth it for just one person? Thousands of jobs could be lost under some of these trade deals if they were pulled. It could be very significant. But this is a one-step-at-a-time process. What the U.S. wants to do at every point in the movements of Edward Snowden is say, stop the music wherever he is right now, just turn him over to us. They'll say that to Russia, that's what they're saying right now. They'll say that to Ecuador if he ends up there. They'll say that to Iceland if he ends up there.
CBS News senior correspondent John Miller, thank you for sitting down with us.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for getting a chance to bring a little rationality to this dialogue.